Brandon Aiyuk, the story of the day. And it's funny. I saw one of your streams. You're like, we're not going to say his name.
Got to say his name today.
Yeah, Brandon Aiyuk, BA, number 11, however you want to describe him. He's meeting today with the 49ers. Adam Schefter reported it. Ryan Clark reported it on NFL Live. Aiyuk actually requested the meeting. And from what the reports are, he's taking negotiations somewhat personally. And the Niners, what I got to think are lowball offers, have maybe affected his psyche a little bit. As I said, he requested the meeting. The other detail that we got is his choice is to play for the 49ers, but he is comfortable playing elsewhere if they are willing to trade him. So that's all we got. What's your takeaway from the news of the day that Aiyuk called this meeting?
Could you explain how Jaden Daniels factors into this news? I'm a little confused here. Ryan Clark brought him up.
Yeah, so I'm going to share the screen so people can check this out. I'm going to play this off the X. This was Clark sharing this. Okay, let's. There we go. Here we go. Hold on.
He did not walk into the room.
Here, we'll get this back to the beginning. Here's Ryan Clark on ESPN NFL Live, I believe.
And I will tell you this: when he sat with us, he did not walk into the room alone. First, it was Brandon Aiyuk. Second, it was Jaden Daniels. I'm not a tea leaf reader, but the way that sounds is that Brandon Aiyuk wouldn't mind playing in Washington. And I will.
Okay.
Well, I mean, or they're, maybe they're next door neighbors. Where does he live? Does he live in Rockland? I know he spent time in Rockland. Do we know where Aiyuk lives?
I'm not sure. I think he's in Reno. But all I know is that he and Jaden Daniels are very close. They play together in college. They're very good friends. Seems to be closer with Daniels than Brock Purdy, and he's close with Purdy. Also, the general manager in Washington is Adam Peters, and it seems like it's possible he could be messing with the Niners. Like, hey, you want to extend Brandon Aiyuk? Well, I'm going to make it harder for you because we want him to, and our quarterback's better friends with him than your quarterback is, and we have more money to pay than you do. And also, like, isn't it tampering for Adam Peters to call up Aiyuk's agent and start throwing around numbers? What they could do, though, is go through Daniels. Right.
Like,
hey, tell Brandon 31.
We'll go to 32 right now. He's worth
you didn't hear
penny.
it from me, right? Like it seems like they could be sort of tampering without tampering, and that Washington's a really interesting team to look at in this whole thing because Adam Peters knows him, Jaden Daniels knows him. They seem to want him. Interesting.
Well, this goes back to wasn't it like 4 or 5 days before the draft where they were pictured together on was it the IG saying, hey, 4 days from now, 5 days from now, fireworks, expect fireworks. And then the draft came and went. We didn't really get any fireworks. I don't know.
Think about it, right? Like Adam Peters is the good cop right now. The Niners are playing bad cop. You're not that good. You're overrated. You're not worth as much as you think. And Adam Peters can just be whispering through Jaden Daniels, man, they're screwing you over, man. Come play with us. We love you. You're phenomenal. I'd want to play for that team too, assuming that's what's going on.
And, to add more to that, it's very easy to look at the Commanders as a team that has lots of pieces that would be intriguing to the 49ers. I mean, there's a lot of talk that Jonathan Allen could be traded for because they already paid Daron Payne. They added Dorrance Armstrong. They added Cleveland Farrell. And if Jonathan Allen was available, if I'm the 49ers, I'm looking at how important they value the D-line. How would you not want Jonathan Allen? I mean, they just drafted Johnny Newton, so they could theoretically slide Newton right into Jonathan Allen's spot and not miss a beat. The Commanders also have Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, Christian's brother. They have some pieces there. They're supposedly disenchanted with Emmanuel Forbes, who was their first-round draft pick corner from the previous regime. He's interesting, very exciting corner. So, they do have pieces to the puzzle that could easily, help the 49ers feel very comfortable with moving Aiyuk. I guess the question is, do you feel comfortable moving Aiyuk? Obviously the Niners, and they're inside their Super Bowl window. Why would they want to move Aiyuk? He's their best receiver. But if he's going to hold out all year, maybe it's better for them to move Aiyuk.
Well, there's two things going on here. Washington, Adam Peters could whisper through Jaden Daniels, tell Brandon we'll pay him whatever he wants. Yes, he's worth 31, 32, 33. It's another thing for Adam to then turn around and give John Lynch what he wants in the trade, because does John Lynch want to seem like he's losing a trade to his former underling who left? No. Like John, like that's not going to happen. So maybe they'll pay Brandon, but will they give the Niners a first-round pick? And if the answer is no, then Brandon's going to have to wait. And that might be
what. As a first-round pick, is that what you'd want at this point? To me, I mean, if you're the 49ers, if you trade Brandon Aiyuk for any collection of 2025 draft capital, that's a loss.
It doesn't help. So what I would want, I'd want Terry McLaurin. 24th. I'd want Terry McLaurin. To me, that's a similar player, a couple years older, a little cheaper, more than the Niners price. If they're offering $26 million a year, McLaurin's cheaper than that. And he's just as good as Aiyuk, just a little bit older. That's what I would do.
He's not quite, Aiyuk's 26. I think McLaurin's 28 or 29.
29, yeah.
Yeah.
So
McLaurin's had great production in his career. I might, but are you saying straight up? Are you saying Aiyuk straight up?
You could balance it out with some picks, Washington. Yeah. Those in
or what if their dream is to pair McLaurin and Aiyuk together? Would you take McCaffrey's brother? Would you take Dotson? Would you take that defensive lineman, Jonathan Allen?
Maybe Jonathan Allen. That's interesting.
How confident are you in the Niner defensive front? I thought their defensive line last year was an embarrassment at the end of the year.
I don't think much of Hargrave right now. And when they traded for Malik Collins, my first reaction was, who's Malik Collins?
Right. Now he looks good in these Coach Yak Twitter videos, but let's see it when the lights are shining bright.
Coach Yak.
He
blocked me.
Coach Yak putting Collins running around cones, but something tells me it's a little different when you put the pads on.
Larry, was he doing anything in OTAs or minicamp?
I didn't see him.
No.
Didn't see him.
He missed the first 3 weeks because his daughter was graduating, and then when he got there, they felt he wasn't ready to practice, so we watched. So he may be great, but we haven't seen him do a damn thing yet.
Yeah. I'll say this. I wasn't looking for him, but I didn't see him. I didn't see Jordan Elliott, though, either. Was Jordan Elliott there?
I didn't see him. I saw Malik Collins standing in Washington because I was looking for him, but Jordan Elliott, I forgot to look for. But yeah. Good point.
I didn't notice him either. I did.
What did you see from Yetur Gross-Matos?
He looks like something, that's for sure. I mean, he's 6'6", 270. He looks like a guy who, he always was he was a late bloomer with tons of physical potential, and it's a technique-rich position. So I think there's lots of good reason to believe that he's an improving player.
I think he's going to start.
I kind of like the way they played their free agent hand a little bit, Grant, from the standpoint of I felt like they got that guy off of his best year. I felt like they got Yadam off of his best year. That sometimes, the light goes on and players do improve.
Also, so Leonard Floyd for what they got him for is terrific. You don't need to be spending a ton of money on edge rushers to get good production. I think the Ravens proved that last year with Clowney. If you have a good scheme and a good overall defense, you can get a hell of a season out of an edge rusher who's in his 30s, who's not that desirable around the league. So I thought Floyd was perfect. I bet you Gross-Matos is going to start, though. The Niners need to actually take run defense seriously. And I think having Floyd play 50% of the snaps and only play on passing downs and being a 2-point stance would help him too.
No question. Gross-Matos, playing the run on first and second down, Floyd on passing downs and key third downs.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the plan. But back to the Commanders for just a sec. I know Niner fans love Aiyuk, and I know the consensus is going to be if Ayuk's not back, it's like they screwed it up. But I could make an argument that look at I was watching the Super Bowl again the other night. You know who played really well in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl? Conley.
Yeah.
He made an incredible play on coverage. He also made a big catch. He made a couple catches in the playoffs leading into the Super Bowl. He's not old. He's big. He's strong. He's fast. In their current alignment, he's cut. And so's Danny Gray, and so's Ronnie Bell, and so's Tame Martin, and so's all those guys. They're all cut. So I just kind of wonder, it's like, if the Niners want to win the Super Bowl, is their best deal to pay Aiyuk big bucks and cut all these receivers that are NFL worthy? Or is it to trade Aiyuk for Jonathan Allen and McCaffrey's brother, or trade him for Jonathan Allen and Jahan Dotson or trade him for Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen. I mean, whatever. Trade him for a defensive lineman and something else and maybe bolster your team there. Because I got some questions about that D-line.
I think what's rough about the Aiyuk situation is like you're seeing a lot of teams now at wide receiver extend their first round pick after 3 years. Like the Eagles just did it with Devontae Smith and the Dolphins just did it with Jalen Waddle. But the Niners don't do business that way. And I don't really know why. They could have extended Brandon Aiyuk last year. And if they had, they probably could have gotten him for $24 million a year, 25. Now they're offering 26 and it's like a slap in the face. Like they could have gotten out in front of this and they only have themselves to blame. But at a certain point, you can't just give a player whatever he wants. And I think it's like 26 million is probably right around what he's worth to them. Maybe he's worth more to Washington, but I think at this point, they're probably handling it correctly. And if they were to just give him a contract extension worth $30 million, I think they would inevitably regret it.
If I say to you, Ricky Pearsall receptions, what do you say back?
I mean, if Aiyuk isn't on the team,
give me an over-under. Well, I mean, no, just with Aiyuk on the team, let's just start there. What do you think Ricky's going to have reception-wise if Aiyuk's on the team? And I bring this up because I was looking at the stats from last year, and the Niners' number one receiver was Aiyuk, and their number two wide receiver was Debo. Their number three wide receiver was Juwan. Their number four wide receiver was McLeod. That should be Pearsall. McLeod was targeted 15 times and caught McLeod was targeted 15 times and caught 12 balls. So he had 12 receptions. Is Pearsall going to catch more than 12 balls?
I would think more than 12, but what's weird is so the number three receiver caught 19.
Right.
Juwan. So because he's not the number three receiver, he's like fifth in the pecking order, but then so is Juszczyk because he gets paid. So Pearsall is going to have to split targets with Jennings and Juszczyk. So barring injury, he'll probably get 15 to 20 catches. But Debo misses time every season, every season, going back to college. So the fact that Pearsall is a first-round pick, he's probably going to start at least a couple of games this year. So realistically, I don't know. Like, is he going to end up? Who's going to have more catches this season, Pearsall or Jennings?
I mean, Jennings was only targeted 33 times last year.
Yep,
and had,
but he's got catches. Extended. He's a veteran.
I know. I mean, he's got great hands, and he's he's really
Juszczyk or Pearsall. Who's going to get targeted more?
I mean, Juszczyk was only targeted 17 times. So that's what I'm saying. If the 49ers used a first-round draft choice on a receiver that they're going to target 15 times all year, that's not a good use of the first-round pick.
I mean, when they drafted him, it seemed like Debo or Aiyuk was going out the door. And if Aiyuk requested a meeting today, it doesn't sound – if the Niners had asked, hey, Brandon, we want you to come to Santa Clara, that makes you think, oh, here comes the extension today or tomorrow. But when Aiyuk requests the extension, it kind of sounds like he's saying, I'm not requesting a trade publicly yet, but I would like you to trade me to Washington or whatever team. He could say, I want to go to Washington for these reasons, and this is what they'd offer me, and can you make this happen? Like, you gave me permission to request a trade. I found a trade. Let's do it. And maybe the Niners say, no, we don't want to trade with Adam Peters, and that doesn't make us look good, and I'm sorry, we can't make this happen for you. But it sounds like Aiyuk's trying to get the Niners to change their mind about something today.
If you could handpick your spot, I mean, I'll give you a couple examples. There's a lot of Pittsburgh rumors. Man, the people in Pittsburgh really think they're getting Debo or Aiyuk. Kyle Madsen put out a trade the other day that I loved. It was Aiyuk to the Patriots for Christian Gonzalez in their first round pick. I'm like, there's no chance Elliott Wolf is trading the first round pick, but I might even do that for Christian Gonzalez in their second round pick. I've seen Washington rumors. I've seen Chargers rumors with Ladd McConkey in a first. I've seen Green Bay rumors with a couple of receivers out of Reed and Watson and Dobbs, but I don't know if I want to send. I mean, to me, the New England thing is very attractive if you could get either their first or their second, because you're talking about a pick in the top 35 most likely, and a corner that might be your best corner, like as soon as he shows up. So, and he's young and he's good. So I don't know. I mean,
I wouldn't trade him for a pick because they need to win the Super Bowl this year. I like the idea of trading him to Washington for McLaurin and a pick to even it out. But McLaurin, I mean, puts up very similar numbers to Aiyuk. He's just a little bit older. And I think the problem with Aiyuk is it seems like he's never going to be happy on the Niners. He's never going to, even if you give him the money he wants, then you have to give him the targets he wants. And those don't exist in this offense for him. But with McLaurin, he's in the Niners price range. He has the same skill set as Aiyuk, and he won't be a malcontent. He'll be cool with his role in the offense, which is all you need. And he can win the one-on-one matchups that he'll get. So I think that's a great way to avoid paying more than you need at the position and not take a step back as a team.
It makes you wonder this meeting today if we're 24 hours away from by the way, Aiyuk demanded a trade.
Right.
But it doesn't come out locally. It doesn't come out until somehow Schefter reports it 72 hours from now.
Maybe what Brandon's doing, instead of like telling it to Jeremy Fowler so that the Niners have to hear it secondhand, he's saying, I'm giving you guys the courtesy of telling you face to face. How about that? Would that make sense?
Well, I mean, especially if there's a relationship there built on trust, and it sounds like Aiyuk. I mean, it doesn't sound like this is really personal. It sounds like this is business. Like Aiyuk's looking at his career. There was the one
thing that said he's taking the offers personal.
Right. Well, so that's what I'm saying. He's now. I don't think it's personal. I think it's the Niners are staring at a $60 million quarterback next year, and that's going from 900,000 to 60 million. AAV is going to put a crimp in their cap. So I just think that they're playing hardball with Aiyuk because they got that looming.
I get the feeling that Aiyuk has felt slighted by Kyle and the Niners for years, since he was getting reps and touches taken away from him by Trent Sherfield and Mohamed Sanu, to him getting frozen out of playoff games, to now. I think Aiyuk feels that there's something personal against him from Kyle. Maybe. I mean, that's what the report is, that he takes it personal, and Kyle's in charge of the organization, and Brandon doesn't have that buddy-buddy relationship with Kyle that Debo does. So I'm just not surprised that this is happening, and I don't feel like Kyle's going to change Kyle's dug in. You're worth 26.
The interesting thing too is that the Niners have an interesting coaching dynamic with a couple of their coaches. One is Bobby T, who seems like he is absolutely the man in the running back room, right? I don't care if you're the better running back. If Bobby T doesn't like you, you're not playing. I mean, it's his way or the highway. And I get the feeling that he's really, really hard on his backs, and he's really, really challenges them. And he's a great coach. I think Shanahan's a pretty good coach, but I think he's really, really hard on the wide receivers, because he was a wide receiver, and I just don't think, I don't know. I think that's my guess, is that he's hard on these wide receivers. He doesn't. He appreciates them, but I think he definitely can see their failings.
Well, I think from Aiyuk's perspective, Kyle's a lot harder on Aiyuk than Debo. And why? Like, Aiyuk was in the doghouse and never really explained why. And it was sort of like suggested that maybe he wasn't practicing hard enough or playing hard enough without the ball. Like, what about Debo? Debo doesn't block, but he gets 11 targets in the Super Bowl, and he can't even beat man coverage, and he doesn't give much effort without the ball. It seems like there's a double standard, and I think maybe that's why Brandon Aiyuk is taking this personal. Like, I did everything right. I was in shape. I blocked, and I don't get rewarded. Why? Because I didn't become your friend? I don't know. Maybe this is poor communication between Aiyuk and the 49ers, but it seems like he's extremely frustrated, and I do think he's taking it personal. He's been acting like he's taking it personal all offseason.
He has. And I wonder if there's any resentment built up from the standpoint that Purdy kind of took the high road and just stayed out of it, where he's got he's got Jaden Daniels there now.
Good
kind
point.
Of maybe feels like Jaden Daniels has his back, where Purdy was like almost talking about Aiyuk in past tense at times this year, and was like, the way he talked about him, it was like, he's done a lot for me. It was almost like he was planning he may never see him again. I don't know what kind of relationship they have on the field. They have a very, very nice dynamic going. I don't know if they're close buddies or what, but makes me wonder.
Well, I mean, Purdy easily could have said, I need Aiyuk here long term. That's my guy. End of story. That's my guy. He didn't do it.
Well, short of that.
Yeah, he could have said, look, I mean, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't imagine that the front office wouldn't bring him back. I mean, I know his business, but this is the guy, and he's my guy, and we have a great relationship. And he could have used his power and influence as the 49ers franchise quarterback to help a teammate get some more money, but he didn't do that.
Not only did he not do that, Grant, I mean, I'm a big Purdy fan, but he actually went the other way. He actually he's like, remember what he said? He's like, I just trust that Kyle and John will get the right players in here that we need to, so it was like
if it ain't Brandon, it'll be someone else. And
right,
I will handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it wasn't like, hey, I need my guy. It's the end of the world. It's like, hey, you know what? I believe my guy is Lynch and Shanahan, and they'll come up with something. So,
during the season, you were in the locker room, you would hear after good games from Aiyuk, some of his teammates walking around being like, pay that man, Kittle, Trent, 25 million, 26 million. I never heard anyone say 30. And so if that's what is going on, if the Niners are offering what a lot of the people on the team think that he should be making, and he's holding out for $5 million a year more, he may not have the support of his peers that he thinks, or that we think. It's one thing for him to be one of the highest paid players in the team. It's another thing for him to be the second highest paid player on the team when he's clearly not the second best player on the team.
If both sides continue to play super hardball, do you know what the date is that Aiyuk has to report by so that he accrues a full year? Is it like week 4, week 6, week 10, week 8? Do you have any idea?
I don't know for certain. I think he can miss half the season. I think he can miss like roughly half the season.
Yeah. So if you're the 49ers and you think that's the plan, then maybe a trade's more attractive. I mean, take
Is that what Brandon's going to explain today? Like, look, you could trade me, or this is what I'm going to do. I want to be upfront.
Right. I don't want to screw up the entire season and have every guy in the room hate me and me be a distraction. But this is my one opportunity to go for the max. I'm going for the max. And if it's here, great. And if it's elsewhere, great. But I'm going for the max, and I got to do it. I'm going to be a warrior in these negotiations for my family. And if you guys aren't going to bend, you might as well move me now. I mean, here's the question I would have for you. Do you think it's the smarter move to sign him? And let's just say the compromise is, I mean, it's not that hard to understand here, right? You got Jefferson at 35. You got Silver saying there at 26. You got a guy at 28 that he says he probably wants to be near. There's also guys at 32. Let's just say he wants 30. Nice round numbers. He says, I want 30 million a year, or I'm not coming in and I'm just going to wait till the very end and I'll come in just to accrue the year. And, that's what, if you're going to play hardball and I'm not getting my 30, that's the way I'm playing my hand of cards. In that situation, if that's what's going on, do you sign him for the $30 million, or is it the smarter move to trade him?
I would have traded him before the draft. And if they could trade him for Terry McLaurin, I'd do it now. But there are some creative things. Like if he wants the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal, I feel like the Niners could feel good about offering it to him. I mean, look at the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal. It's technically $30 million. It's technically 4 years, $120 million. But the extension starts next year. And then by 2026, there's zero guaranteed money left on the deal. Zero. So yeah, it's a 4-year extension, but really they can get out of it after one of the years if it turns out that he's not worth the big money. So that seems, Aiyuk would agree to that. If so, then I mean, that seems pretty team friendly.
Yeah, it does.
Right? It's not that great of a deal for Amon-Ra St. Brown. It doesn't have a ton of guaranteed money, and there's zero left after 2025.